Michel Anavicius's film, The Artist, is a silent film taking place in the 1920s. The film depicts the film industry in the middle of a turning point between silent films and talkies. Looking at pictures suggests that the silent period stretched from 1908 to 1927. Hollywood's golden age, which includes sound and films, stretched from 1927 to 1947. In regards to silent films, director Michel Hazanavicius says, "It's the purest way to tell a story. It's about creating images that tell a story, and you don't need dialogue for that." Films during the silent era stressed invisibility. Looking at pictures explains that the movie's form should not call attention to itself. This includes narrative, cinematography, editing, sound, acting, and so forth. The Artist is a film that accomplishes this task of seamlessly telling a narrative, though there is a lack of dialogue. The on-screen captions that represent the words in the film create the same sense of drama that spoken dialogue would. One example is the dramatic scene in the beginning of the film. Here the actor is being shocked with high voltage, and his response can be seen only in silent screens and on-screen wording. This, however, does not take away from the dramatic event that's going on camera. The second example is towards the end of the film. At one of the more pivotal points in the narrative, George sits with a gun pointed in his mouth. Suddenly the word bang appears on the screen, and the silence there is more than just a product of the silent film. The silence here creates suspense and dread. It turns out, however, that the bang was simply the noise of Pepe's car hitting a tree in a wild attempt to save George. It is here that the lack of sound actually helps to create a bigger sense of drama than a talkie would have been able to do. The reason that George had a gun pointed in his mouth was because of his failing acting career. Though a famous film star, the new and exciting uprising of sound and films began to run George out of business. This was very typical at the time, for silent actors to lose their fame. This hits at the same time as the stock market crash in 1929, which puts George and other silent film actors further behind than before. The historical setting of this film largely parallels Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard. Norma Desmond, like George, is a famous silent film actress. Eventually, sound movies are portrayed, and her fame dwindles. Her most famous line from the movie accurately portrays the position of many famous silent film stars of her time. She says, "I am big. It's the movies that have got small." Overall, The Artist is a film that masterfully moves along a narrative in the era of silent films. It conquers the technique of invisibility that looking at pictures states is important for seamlessly pushing along a story while accurately portraying the historical context of the setting of the film itself.